Nick, is it a foregone conclusion that the Saints will be drafting a quarterback in this year's draft?
I think foregone conclusion's a little bit strong, but I think they're always in the market for those players. They're always looking for a quarterback. They're always looking for an opportunity. And I think we've just seen that reflected over the last several years in their want to draft quarterbacks almost every year now. And I think that same approach is going to play out. And if you aren't getting somebody at the top of the draft, I think you do have to be looking at that mid-level market, trying to find lottery tickets in the fourth, fifth round, third, if it's there. They just met with Quinn Ewers and a bunch of Texas players the other night. They had a dinner with them. They're up in Ohio State today. I'm assuming they'll be looking at their quarterback there, and he could be a fifth or sixth round pick. So I think you just want to be comparing those guys to the guys you have in your building and seeing if there's traits that you want to develop. Is there something elite somebody does in the fourth or fifth round that you could bring them in, get them in your program, and see if you can build that one trait up to overcome whatever shortcomings they might have. Like Spencer Rattler is a great example. I think there's a ton of stuff that he does really well, and that he has a plus arm. It's elite, it's top level, but there are other shortcomings. His stature, some of the things he does, his processing that needed to be worked up. And you work with that and you see, hey, maybe I can find a starter. Maybe this guy has the drive, the determination, the ability to overcome these other things, and you try to work with it. So I think it's just a good idea to be doing that until you have Drew Brees, until you have your Aaron Rodgers, until you have your Patrick Mahomes. I think you got to be taking swings in those middle rounds. And obviously, if there's somebody up high and you feel really good about that bet, make sure you're trying to do what you can do to get one of them guys.
No, for sure. I agree that if you have somebody that you're really high on and he's available, you go there and you take him. But you look at the previous quarterbacks drafted, really Spencer Rattler is the one that you could put pen to paper on. He had some real PT during the season and he went 0-6. Now, what was the offensive line situation? What was the team situation at that point? Up in the air. But just body of work put on the field, he had some good showings, especially in the first half of games. That Washington game where he came in the second half and almost brought the team all the way back to a victory was pretty showing of his tenacity and grit. But you look at somebody like Jake Hayner, who was the quarterback that was drafted by the Saints before Rattler, and the limited amount of playing time he got, he didn't really show much of anything. So I don't think you should just be swinging for swinging's sake. I think you should take a swing at somebody that you kind of know, all right, we can build this person up, or like he's really probably going to be our future. And at this point, they really need to start looking at the future.
I agree totally with that. I don't think you just dive in the water and try to get one just to get one for the sake of getting one. I think as a strategy, you want to be diving into the water, but you need to know that you're diving in where there's enough depth and you aren't just going to hit the bottom. And there's a
Yeah.
chance of survival and getting someone and possibly working with them and possibly making them better. But yeah, you made a couple good points there. Look, I think Hayner had some traits that I think were worthwhile chasing. I think his accuracy is really good. There's some grit and determination there, but it hasn't translated into the games. And you're going to miss more often than not,
Yeah.
especially when you're trying to go in the middle rounds. You're going to miss more often than not if you were drafting a quarterback in the first round every year.
Yeah.
They're really hard to find, and then the odds go down further and further. So it's not a strategy where there's a destination that's certified. You're just trying. Like you're taking chances. You're swinging the bat. And yeah, it has to be somebody you want to swing the bat on. The other thing with Rattler, yeah, I think he showed some really good things. I think that there's still a chance. I think that he showed plus ability at times. First half of games, as you said, really good. There were a lot of times where if he had just played the first half and then the starting quarterback came back and took over the second half, we'd be sitting here saying, "No, you gotta move on. You gotta do this." But then
Yeah.
unfortunately we'd see more of the game and things would happen. And it does make you wonder why that would happen. Was Kubiak throwing everything he had at it in the first half and the bag of tricks just runs out because you don't have offensive linemen, you don't have receivers, the quarterback isn't the starting quarterback, and you're overcoming it, and there's just a point where you can't hide everything anymore. And maybe that's what happened. I don't really understand the differences from one half to the other. It was kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
this is not intended as any disrespect to Rattler. He also didn't show enough for you to say, I'm not trying anymore. Yeah, he didn't show enough for you to say, I'm not trying in the same spot anymore. He didn't show enough to say they shouldn't try to go in the first round. he showed something. There's something there. There's a chance. You chase a chance, but the chance isn't enough to say, no way, we're done over here. We got Jordan Love coming up behind Aaron Rodgers. No, you don't have that right now.
Right. And that's the point that, based off of that, is there even a point where you say, I'm not trying? Now, if you have a Patrick Mahomes in his prime, okay, yeah, you can start getting people in, but you're not trying to swing for the next guy. But when it comes down to the time, when you have the time to draft somebody saying that same name, like Patrick Mahomes, and you still have Drew Brees in the building, you take that swing because you have to be
Yes.
prepared for the future. And we talked about it a little bit last week, and then on Monday's show, with the pro day at Miami, Cam Ward, he showed some things. Kind of, what did you notice from the clips from his pro day?
Yeah, I watched it. It was good. He does a lot of things really well. Great arm, great feet, great release, elite release. Just his ability is obvious. You
Yeah,
see it. And the thing with the pro day is really, if it looks bad, that's the thing that becomes notable. It should never look bad. You're scripting it out. You're throwing the known receivers. It's a controlled atmosphere. It's really about just letting people see your mechanics and your ability without anything else around it. And I think all those things are great. I think he's a great athlete. I think he's a good
yeah,
quarterback. There are things that obviously I think need to be a little bit better when you look at his tape. I was going through it the other day, but so many pluses there. There's so many things that he does really well. The arm is crazy. What you saw at the pro day, you see in the games. The improvisation is really good. He has a want to throw the ball over the middle, which a lot of young quarterbacks don't want to, and he does that.
mhm,
I like a lot about him. I think he's somebody. I don't think he's can't miss. I don't think he's Joe Burrow, that type of Andrew Luck type prospect where it's like
yeah,
if he goes anywhere, he's going to be fine. I think like most quarterbacks, like a Jaden Daniels needs to end up in the right spot to kind of shine all the way through it. Like most quarterbacks outside of one every decade, even Mahomes needed to end up in the right spot, I think, with the right people because there were really good
yeah.
skills, but it was raw. And I think Cam Ward's kind of from a similar cloth. I think there are really, really good skills. I think he needs to end up in a situation where he can grow and you can make that blossom. And I think that really is going to come down to if the Titans want to take him, do they believe that they have that situation? If somebody trades up for him, do they believe they have that situation? I think that's the main thing with him. But everything's there for him to be good if he ends up in the right spot.
No, for sure. And that's a conversation you and I were having yesterday about these young quarterbacks having time to kind of get adjusted to the league, learning how to mature and learning how to kind of handle some of the stuff. Now, if you're taking in that first 5 picks, you're expected to come out and do something for sure. But I think just the process itself of enjoying the process and growing and having growth as a player. Because if you look just at Cam Ward, you look at him when he was at UIW, he was raw talent, but it had to get refined a little bit. Then he went to Wazoo, refined a little bit, and now at Miami, he became a Heisman finalist. So I think just that continued progression along the board is always going to be good for a player. But besides Cam Ward, I know the Saints were at Texas Pro Day yesterday. They're at Ohio State today. Is there anyone that you think they're kind of like pinpointing on in the event that they miss out on? Because I mean, probably they will. He's going to be like the first quarterback taken off the board.
Yeah, it would be completely different types of players. I think Cam Ward, if you can get Cam Ward, if Cam Ward falls or whatever, if he
Yeah.
becomes someone they decide they want to trade up for and they can't, and we don't know if they want to do that or not. It's just a conversation you start having
Hmm.
this time of year because they're good players, and we know they really like him. We know they really like him, and they should really like him. Do they like him enough to go get him? I have no idea. I have no indication that's the thing that's happening, but they really like him. So I think anyone else after that though is from a completely different cloth. You're going from we think this guy's the franchise to is this guy worth a fourth round pick over a reserve offensive tackle?
Right.
I think that's the math becomes completely different. So I don't know if you target anyone through that vein. I don't know that there's anyone that I know that they're going after. I'm okay with the theory though. I'm never someone that goes, "Why'd you burn a draft pick?" If you really think a quarterback has a chance, and if that's in the second round, the first round, the third round, I'm really okay with missing. The only way I'm not okay with missing is if you make the significant investment to move up. If
Yeah.
you're trading everything to move up for a quarterback, you cannot afford to be wrong. That has to hit. There's no wiggle room there. He has to be your quarterback. And otherwise, though, if you sit and pick at 9, if you sit and pick at 40, if you sit and pick at 27, 15, I don't care. It's a worthy endeavor. You can miss on Mac Jones, and I'm not mad at you for it, because that's the only way to get one. But if you do the all in, we're going to get him, you can't have a Davenport situation, especially a quarterback.
No, no. But I mean, in that same conversation, whatever happens in this draft and those type of things will be the pieces that set up the first year of Kellen Moore.